Why were the CIA trying to find the Ark of the Covenant? But more importantly, why were they trying to find it in Antarctica? Today I've had several people contact me about a paper that's been released. One of those ones that has been, secret in the past and is now public information. And apparently it's fairly recent, and it's all about the CIA doing remote viewing on the Ark of the Covenant. First of all, let's have a little look at some of the boring stuff. So it's dated the 5th of December 1988, and it's part of something called Project Sunstreak. From what I can tell, this is a form of remote viewing, and this particular paper relates to a training session which they are using the Ark of the Covenant as the target for training. So this means that they know where the Ark of the Covenant is, or I should say where an ark is located, because as you may know from some of my other episodes on the Ark of the Covenant, I believe there's rather a lot of them out there. And knowing where one is doesn't mean that they actually have one. Also, it would seem that they expect a person who's doing remote viewing to be able to find it and give information about it based on coordinates. The problem is that the coordinates in the paper don't make much sense. When you put them into Google Maps or the equivalent, you end up with two different options. One of them in two possible locations in the Greenland Sea, and the other two possible locations in Antarctica. So at least Antarctica is on land. So why? Why do they think it's in Antarctica? Unless I've got the coordinates wrong. So just in case I had got the coordinates wrong or I had misinterpreted anything, I decided to ask AI about what the options were in terms of how many places this could relate to. And I got 8. And of course, 4 of them matched the ones that I had come up with. So 3 of these other ones were in the ocean, and 1 was in Peru. But then in the paper, they referred to a place in the description that would seem to be more like an Arab country. But I'll get to that shortly. I mean, I was expecting to be looking somewhere in Ethiopia or maybe Egypt, but not Antarctica. And the other clues that they give us that it's in the Middle East is that they describe a dome, they describe Middle Eastern people. So, yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So let's keep looking at what the paper says. So the following part of the paper is a summary of what the person doing the remote viewing said. So they said the target is a container. This container has another container in it. Target is fashioned of wood, gold, and silver. The target is similar in shape to AOL, a coffin, and is decorated with seraphim. So there is a sketch of that, and this is it. This target is located somewhere in the Middle East, as the language spoken by individuals seems to be Arabic. Visuals of surrounding buildings indicated the presence of mosque domes. Individuals in the area were clothed in virtually all white, had black hair and dark eyes, and one figure that was homed in on had a moustache. The target is hidden underground, where it's dark and wet. It describes the purpose as being to bring a people together. It has something to do with ceremony, memory, homage, possibly the resurrection, and there's an aspect of spirituality, information, lessons, and historical knowledge, far beyond what we know. After that description, it reinforces to me Ethiopia or possibly Egypt. The target is protected by entities and can only be opened by those who are authorized to do so. and this container will not and cannot be opened until a time is deemed correct. Once it is time to open the container, the mechanics of the lock system will be found to be fairly simple. Individuals opening the container by prying or striking will be destroyed by the container's protectors through the use of a power unknown to us. There are a few diagrams in the paper that are fairly interesting. So let's have a look at what compares to these that we know of. Let's start with the stick figures. They apparently are supposed to be some kind of mummies, but I have seen this sort of picture carved into the walls in Egypt, and I'll give you an example of that. There's a description of the box with it rising gradually and arching up and over and then coming back down, and that brings to mind, to me, this kind of box, which is very much Egyptian. And here's another example. Now, what about these seraphim that are supposedly on the box? This is the diagram. It's kind of an ugly looking thing. But the things that come to mind most of all for me are the winged goddesses in Egyptian art. And quite often you see them in twos, so one at either side of something. So this takes me back to Egypt as being a good contender for the origins of the box and possibly where it's located, but I'm still leaning towards Ethiopia for where it's actually located. Then we have a picture of what looks like a wheel, but it could be some kind of mechanism. And what comes to mind is the Antarctica mechanism. So where does all this lead us? Well, nowhere really. The coordinates that they gave don't take us to anywhere really except Antarctica or Peru. And the descriptions given for the item are common knowledge anyway. And so, yeah, I'm left feeling as if I haven't gained anything whatsoever from all this.